Today, I am together with our thematic experts, Marc, Pattinson, and Arnault Morisson. I would kindly ask you, Marc and Arnault, to join me on stage. Thank you very much, and good morning to you both.
Good morning,
Hi, Elena. Good to see you, Elena.
Thank you. Good to see you too. Maybe you would like to introduce yourself briefly. Marc, maybe a few words.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be with the Interreg Europe community today. I'm one of the two experts on the research and innovation thematic, and I've been working supporting the project community now for about 4 years. And when I'm not working with the Interreg Europe community, I tend to spend my time supporting regional authorities, develop innovation strategies, develop cluster policy programs, and also do a bit of policy evaluation work in different themes. And one of the key dimensions for us in our daily activity is supporting regions and their ecosystems on this digital transition journey, on this green transition journey.
Thank you so much, Marc. And maybe one word then from Arnault. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Arnault Morisson. I'm the other thematic expert in research innovation at the Policy Learning Platform here. I've been working as a thematic expert in research innovation for 3 years now. And when I'm not doing policy learning, I'm working as a postdoc in research, mostly doing research on innovation policies, on smart specialization strategy, cluster policies. So very linked to what we're doing at the Policy Learning Platform in research and innovation.
Thank you so much also to Arnault for your introduction. As you could hear from our experts, they have a vast knowledge of policy domains related to innovation infrastructure, support to, of course, the regional innovation ecosystems. They are very close to the challenges that regional and local policymakers face daily in their work. So I would then start with the first question to Marc, maybe. Marc, we have a question from Valerie from the Institute of Technology of Sligo in Ireland. Valerie is looking for examples in Europe where digital innovation hubs have geared up the technology uptake of businesses, and more generally where policies in support of digital innovation hubs have made a difference in the development of the local innovation ecosystem. So from your experience and knowledge of Interreg Europe projects and beyond, what could we say to Valerie and to our audience?
Well, firstly, we can say thank you, Valerie, because what is important to understand is that as policy experts, we work for the community and we work with you. So without your requests, then we are pretty dull and boring people. So we need your input. So we appreciate the engagement of everybody who supports us on the Policy Learning Platform, especially innovation research. With the digital innovation ecosystem agenda, I think the regional level is one of the key response policy levels for meeting the European Union strategic goals, which, as we know, are aimed at improving the competitiveness of our digital economy, whether that's the local micro level or whether that's challenging and preparing Europe for greater economic and digital sovereignty. The same message is relevant. Clearly, within these smart specialization strategies, there is a strong digital dimension in the 21-27 period. So regional authorities are at the heart of this process. Digital technologies are by nature cross-cutting. Digital sector, the companies within the digital sector, but they have a, let's say, a facilitating, enabling role, driving the uptake of innovation in other sectors and across many different SMEs. The SME, who's a small business compared to a big multinational, the role of innovation driven by digitalization, driven by new digital skills, are at the top of the processes which will accelerate innovation processes, but also the uptake that leads to economic growth and job creation. I mean, within the sort of European Digital Europe program, we've got major investment being supported across the range of digital technologies, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's high performance computing. And these are key elements of the sort of digital innovation hub agenda that can be supported by Horizon Europe and structural funds. So together we have a sort of a cross-cutting, let's say, innovation scenario. We have a cross-cutting funding scenario, and benefiting from these different, let's say, policy and financial agendas, we have businesses and citizens that can make the most, not only in supporting their businesses in their competitiveness, but also public services can be delivered in a more efficient and perhaps more open fashion. So given its importance, the policy learning platform not only supports projects individually, but we organized a webinar in July last year, 2021, where we invited Interreg partners, project partners that had already invested in this direction, and also external speakers to come and tell us a bit more about digital ecosystems and the digital transformation trends. During this workshop, we let's say, sought to focus and highlight two projects that we think would be particularly interesting to answer Valerie's question. The first one, excuse me, Next to Meet, focuses on policies and measures to increase the uptake of soft digital measures. So it's not all about hard infrastructure investment. And the second one we drew to policymakers and the community's attention was Carpe Diem, which aims at producing more connectivity and sharing of innovation, the digital ecosystems within peripheral and less advanced European regions. And we can see how those challenges are particularly relevant to large parts of Europe. In the Next to Meet project, we've got a focus on the funding of the digital hubs and co-working spaces in rural areas, which we think is a particular area of interest to you, Valerie. And the good practice that we highlighted looks at how some of the funding initiatives can be, let's say, tailored to meet the specific needs of this particular initiative on funding co-working spaces and fully equipped amenities. And this was a zoom on the Midland region in Ireland, and looking at some of the synergies with other funds that could be used to add to the support already available in the region. So we had the Wi-Fi for EU, we had some funding from the Department of Rural and Community Development that helped develop projects that would deliver Wi-Fi, for example, in public spaces. The LEADER program, very relevant again for rural areas, also looked at how broadband connection points could be delivered in these digital co-working spaces. So this good practice looks at how creation of physical digital infrastructures and the co-working spaces can not only facilitate exchanges between the stakeholders, but also, and this is very interesting, I think, for many regions, is support the economic regeneration of towns and villages that are in rural areas that perhaps are now finding a new lease of life with enhanced connectivity thanks to digital resources. I mean, during this webinar that we organized, I think one of our, let's say, value-added services is we try and find key actors, whether they're policymakers or thematic experts, that can give us insights into some of the key trends. And on this occasion, we had the pleasure of hosting Sandro Delia from DG Connect, who gave us an update on the European Digital Innovation Hub initiative, a major funding program from Digital Europe, with an insight into how these different innovation hubs can be connected and strengthen Europe. We also had Christian Gosia from West ARD Romania, the development agency, and he looked at giving us some insights into the type of monitoring, the impact measures that can be aligned with a digital strategy. Finally, Klaus Zeppelzauer from Ecoplus Austria gave us his take on a good practice that we've showcased before because it's so interesting, called the House of Digitalization, particular resources for helping SMEs access the relevant skills for their digital transition. Last but not least, the policy brief that we prepared, titled Skills for Innovation, could be of interest. I think whenever we go into regions, and just as well COVID's over, we are traveling again to meet you. The issue of skills, talent attraction, talent retention are top of many people's agenda. So when the European Commission published their European Skills Agenda in July 2020, we could see how these measures were going to be very relevant to many of the themes that we deal with the policy learning platform community. So not only addressing the problems post COVID-19, trying to focus on how human capital, employment, social policies can help transform their possibilities with new skills adapted to the twin transitions of digital and climate neutrality, for example. The role that teleworking and virtual learning can be exploited, again, to take into account the COVID-19 fallout. Overall, these skill programs and training programs are important to close the gap of the digital skills and, let's say, avoid creating new inequalities or enhancing the existing inequalities that can impact accessing job opportunities, training, lifelong training, and basically ensuring people and building new skills into their current portfolio that they can offer to businesses and public services to make them more relevant to the current needs. So hopefully, Valerie, that's given you some insights into what the policy learning platform team can bring, not only from our own expertise, but from sharing the expertise that we learn from other regions and other Interreg Europe project good practices or policy initiatives. So, Eleanor, that's my first insight into what we can give on this issue of digital and Europe trends and opportunities.
Sure. Thank you very much, Marc, for this interesting indeed insights. You touched upon several important points, I would say, that could be of interest not only for Valerie, but for our audience as a whole. So thank you very much for that. You have also highlighted many resources of Interreg Europe, the policy learning platform, that you can visit further, and my colleagues on the chat are working hard to give you all the links and the necessary information for you to further explore those resources. And now let's move on maybe to our next question, and this one is for Arnault instead. So Arnault, yes, you are back again. This one is related to a topic that is also very interesting for policymakers, and it is the link between university and business. So policymakers are, of course, well aware of the fact that one of the core ingredients for the success of the innovation policy in the region is the link between industry and university. What are the main trends, Arnaud, in Europe on this subject? And in your opinion, what are the building blocks that allow such collaboration to be effective?
That's a very good question as well. First thing to understand is that university-industry collaboration is a common challenge across many European regions. Regions, they have very different policy challenges regarding university industry collaboration. It can range to promoting an innovation culture, entrepreneurship culture within universities, to developing spin-offs, promoting new businesses, to also like aligning research to S3 priorities, so aligning the research with a smart specialization strategy. And for that, there is no one-size-fits-all policy solutions, right? And this is where we come in. We, at the Policy Learning Platform, we published a very comprehensive policy brief on university-industry collaboration that looks into the soft, the regulatory, and the financial policy tools to promote this university-industry collaboration. We even provide specific and tailored policy recommendations to different regional contexts and institutional contexts. So policy brief, great tool to use and great tool to give you many insights. So one of those tools, for instance, are the centers of competence, and we also did a webinar on centers of competence. So those kind of so those kind of research centers located in universities that work on specific regional sectors, very close to the market and very close to the industry and in applied research. We also, something very interesting, we just concluded a peer review in Upper Silesia in Poland, looking at the commercialization of research results. And of course, we have many good practices. And just one of those good practices is the National Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center at Kaunas University of Technology in Lithuania from the Interreg Europe project Increase. And it works as a kind of a one-stop shop to promote university-industry collaboration. But also looking at supporting businesses, projects, also looking at the entrepreneurship, and also looking at protection of intellectual property. So a very interesting, good practice, but we have many of those related to university industry collaboration, because this is one of the key topics in research innovation and really important for regional innovation ecosystems.
So thank you very much for this. I then thank the audience for having been with us. I also invite you to contact Arnault and Marc for exploring further what we've been discussing today, but also to ask them other questions. I'm sure they are extremely happy to help out, to give you additional hints and ideas coming from the successful results of Interreg Europe projects. We at the Policy Learning Platform are always ready to help, so never hesitate to contact us because we like to share the wealth of knowledge of Interreg Europe.